picture the scene. It is 1748.
So 5:48 p.m.
Right, 5:48. You walk into a room. Maybe it is a conference room where a meeting is just wrapping up. Or maybe it is the kitchen at a family gathering.
The classic danger zones.
Exactly. You can hear the hum of conversation through the door, people laughing, ice clinking in glasses, that warm sort of sound of connection. You open the door, you step across the threshold, and
the temperature just plummets.
It drops. It is not that everyone stops talking all at once, like in some bad movie scene.
No, it is way subtler than that.
Much subtler. The air just changes. A laugh that was bubbling up gets swallowed. Eyes shift away. Someone starts a new topic a little too loudly and a little too quickly.
Right.
You are standing there. You are physically present, but you know with absolute bone-deep certainty that you do not belong here.
It is a completely visceral moment. And honestly, based on the research we are looking at today, it is one of the most violent things human beings can do to one another without lifting a finger.
That is exactly the specific feeling we are doing a deep dive into today. We are not talking about getting fired or getting dumped or someone screaming at you to get out.
Which is active conflict.
Right. We're talking about the freeze out, that slow, silent exclusion where you are not officially kicked out of the tribe, you are just erased from it.
And that is often worse. Because when someone screams at you, at least they are acknowledging that you exist. The silence is a different beast entirely.
So for today's deep dive, we have compiled sources covering two lenses that might seem miles apart, but actually fit together perfectly for this topic.
Yeah, we're looking at evolutionary biology on one hand and Stoic philosophy on the other.
And the mission here is to understand the central tension. This absolute battle between the biological need to belong, which explains why this hurts so much, and the human need for dignity and integrity, which is where the Stoics come in.
We will be referencing insights from Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius, alongside modern physiological studies. And it really is a war, make no mistake.
The zero-sum game, right.
A lot of the time, yes. Because to stay in the warm center of the group, the sources suggest you often have to sell a piece of who you are.
Let us start with the biology part. I feel like we often dismiss our feelings about being excluded. We tell ourselves to stop being sensitive, or that it is just a party and who cares if they didn't talk to you.
Oh, society definitely pushes that narrative.
But the research paints a much more aggressive picture. It is not just hurt feelings, it is a physical reaction.
It is entirely physical.
Yeah.
When you walked into that room at 5:48 and the vibe shifted, your body reacted before your conscious mind even processed what was happening.
The muscles tighten up.
Yes. Your body tightens, your heart rate likely spikes, your pupils might even dilate.
Which is the classic fight or flight response. But reading through the sources, I kept thinking, why does it feel like such a glitch? I mean, I am not being chased by a lion.
Right.
I'm just holding a plate of appetizers that nobody wants to eat. Why is my body treating a social snub like a literal, life-threatening physical danger?
Because for the vast majority of human history, we were talking hundreds of thousands of years, they were the exact same thing.
Being ignored and being hunted?
Essentially, yes. Humans are pack animals. We are not solitary hunters like tigers. In the Paleolithic era, if the tribe went quiet when you walked in, or if they stopped making eye contact, that was the precursor to exile.
And exile meant?
Exile meant death.
Yeah.
Literally, you either starve, you freeze, or a predator eats you. You cannot survive alone in that environment.
So the brain basically just has not updated its software?
Not for this, no. We are walking around with Stone Age hardware in a digital world. Our sources highlight this incredible study where researchers put people in fMRI machines.
The brain scanners.
Exactly. They put subjects in these scanners and simulated social rejection. They played this digital ball tossing game where the other players eventually just stopped throwing the ball to the subject.
And what happened in the brain?
The dorsal anterior cingulate cortex lit up like a Christmas tree. And the crucial part here is that this is the exact same region of the brain that processes physical pain.
So when people say it hurts that they weren't invited to something, they are not just using a poetic metaphor.
Not at all. To your neurons, the pain of social exclusion is essentially indistinguishable from the pain of breaking a leg. It's not weakness, it is pure biology.
That is wild.
Yeah.
But it does explain why the feeling is so paralyzing. You cannot just think your way out of a broken leg, and apparently you cannot just think your way out of the shock of isolation.
Right, it is your biology screaming at you to get back in the group. It is saying, fix this or we die. It is a fundamental survival alarm.
This brings up a distinction I found really fascinating in the reading. The sources outline a difference between fearing an attack and fearing being ignored.
That is the second major hook we wanted to cover.
Yeah, because I feel like most of us, if you asked us on the street, would say we would much rather be ignored than attacked.
Logically, yes.
Yeah.
You don't want someone throwing punches at you.
But the psychological impact the sources describe actually suggests the opposite is true.
Because being attacked grants you status. Even if you are the enemy, you matter. You are a force to be reckoned with. Someone is expending energy on you.
Right.
But being ignored signals that you have zero value. You are a ghost. And that triggers a deep existential terror. The fear is, if they don't see me, do I even exist?
Okay, so we have this biological panic. The survival alarm is ringing loudly. This is where the Stoic philosophy usually comes in and tells us to just calm down.
The famous Stoic calm.
Right. But I have to play devil's advocate for a second. It is super easy for Epictetus to say that it is all in your head when he is writing a text. But when you are actually standing in that room, sweating, feeling the shame, how do you actually apply that?
It is the hardest thing in the world. And you are right. It is not as simple as flipping a switch to turn off millions of years of evolution. But Epictetus does give us the mechanism.
What does he suggest?
He says that people are not disturbed by things, but by the view which they take of them.
Ah, the interpretation.
Exactly. You have to break it down in the moment. The objective event is just that the room went quiet.
Right, that is just data. You can record it on a microphone.
Yes. But the view you take, the interpretation, is suddenly, they hate me, I am weird, I am unsafe, something is broken in me.
So the suffering does not come from the silence itself.
No, it comes from the immediate split-second story you tell yourself about why the silence happened.
So the Stoic practice is not about pretending the silence didn't happen. It is about catching yourself right in that storytelling phase.
You are trying to stop the spiral.
Yeah.
You have to tell yourself, okay, the conversation stopped. That is data. But I am not going to automatically assign the meaning that I am worthless to that data.
Before we get deeper into the Stoic strategies, I want to shift the focus back to the environment. Because sometimes it is not just our internal interpretation. Sometimes groups really are intentionally freezing people out.
Absolutely. The social dynamics are very real.
So why do they do it? Why do perfectly nice, normal individuals turn into this cold collective wall?
The sources point to the architecture of safety. Groups survive on consensus. They survive on a shared reality.
Meaning everyone agreeing on the same rules.
The rules, the jokes, the hierarchy, the values, if we all agree, we feel safe. Consensus creates stability.
And anyone who disrupts that consensus is viewed as a threat to this stability.
Yes, and this is a really key point the sources make. They do not have to be a malicious threat. They just have to be different.
Seneca actually had a warning about this, didn't he?
He did. Seneca noted how crowds often fear difference simply because it shakes the uniformity. If you are doing something else, you are implicitly questioning what the rest of the group is doing.
I want to dig into one of the specific real-world examples from the reading because I think it illustrates these soft signs of exclusion perfectly. The workplace scenario.
The classic case of the employee who won't play the game.
Right. Let us call him John. So John is a good employee. He hits all his targets. He is polite. He is competent. But John has a strict rule. He leaves work at 5 p.m. sharp.
He refuses to participate in the unpaid overtime culture.
Exactly. He does not stick around to perform how busy he is. He does not sit in the break room complaining about how tired he is. He just does his job and goes home. And as a result, he gets frozen out.
This perfectly captures the social mechanism at work. Because John is not breaking any official corporate rules. He is not stealing office supplies.
Yeah.
But he is violating the group narrative.
And the narrative in this office is that they are all suffering together for some grand mission.
Yes. The underlying consensus is we work late because we are passionate and essential. John leaving at 5 destroys that consensus.
Because his behavior implicitly says, actually, you guys are just managing your time poorly.
Or it says, you are sacrificing your personal lives for a company that does not care about you. He is essentially holding up a mirror to the group.
And people really do not like looking in that mirror.
They hate it.
Oh.
So how does the group react to regain their stability? They cannot fire him because, as the source notes, he is hitting his numbers. So they use the soft signs. They freeze him out.
Walk us through what that actually looks like based on the analysis, because it is not like they lock his office door.
No, it is a slow creep. It starts with fewer invites. He gets left off at digital chat thread that is not officially essential, but is where all the inside jokes happen.
Right, the fun channel.
Then it is less eye contact in meetings.
Yeah.
Then the private jokes stop. Eventually, people start labeling him. He gets called things like lacking passion.
Or the ultimate corporate kiss of death, not a culture fit.
Exactly. They slowly deprioritize him. And the trap here is that he is not being excluded because he lacks value.
He is being excluded because he does not fit their specific narrative. He makes them feel insecure about their own lack of boundaries.
Precisely. And the sources bring up another real-world example that is maybe even more painful to navigate: the family dynamic.
Oh yes, the non-traditional choice scenario.
It is similar to the workplace, but with much deeper roots. A young person in a family chooses a non-traditional lifestyle.
Right, and it is not a situation where there is an official disowning or a massive screaming match.
No, it is the invisible distance. Maybe they chose a career the parents do not understand, or they just do not engage in the usual family gossip. The family does not kick them out, but there are gentle, passive-aggressive comments.
And you find yourself at the holiday dinner and you are physically there, but nobody is really asking you genuine questions.
They just want you to nod along and play your assigned role to maintain the family stability.
Which brings us to what the sources call the existential drop. This is the danger zone.
This is a critical moment.
It is the moment where the isolated person stops thinking, wow, they just do not get me, and starts thinking, maybe I deserve this.
That is when the conflict moves from the outside to the inside. You are now caught in the parallel conflict.
Right, the battle between the two forces we mentioned earlier. On one side, the social need to belong.
And on the other side, the need for dignity and to be honest with yourself.
And the pressure to just give in to the social side is immense. The sources call this the adaptation trap.
It is the question of whether you change yourself just to be accepted.
And it does not usually happen all at once, right? It is small shifts.
Very small. It is laughing at a joke you actually find offensive just to break the tension, or nodding along with an opinion you disagree with just to keep the peace.
But the analysis warns that this is a slippery slope.
It is, because a little adjustment here and a little adjustment there, repeated over time, leads to a complete loss of your core self.
Marcus Aurelius had a really profound question for dealing with this exact hurt.
Yes, when you feel the sting of exclusion, he asks you to reflect on what exactly is hurting.
He says, ask yourself, what part of me is hurting?
Is it your core sense of self, or is it just your ego? Is your biological drive for belonging throwing a tantrum?
The source material actually includes a really powerful personal anecdote about this. The author admits to being isolated specifically for refusing to join in on what they called wrong conversations.
Like office gossip or toxic complaining.
Exactly. And they write that initially, refusing to join in felt like pride. It felt good. But very quickly, that pride turned into deep loneliness and doubt.
The doubt is the hardest part.
They start wondering, should I just soften a little bit? Should I just play along to get back in the warm center of the room?
And that brings us to the Stoic strategies, the active choice to stand apart.
Because according to the breakdown, there are generally 3 ways people react to this isolation.
Right. Reaction number 1 is to conform at all costs. You surrender your identity to get back in the group.
Which means a total loss of self. Reaction number 2 is anger or rebellion.
But the problem there is that you are still being controlled by the environment. Your whole personality just becomes reacting against the group.
And then there is the 3rd way, the Stoic way.
Which is calm reflection and holding on to your core.
Epictetus teaches that the only thing that is truly yours in this world is your judgment and your choice.
And if you change your judgment simply to please the crowd, you are willingly handing over control of the only thing you own.
Let us run this through a specific scenario from the text, the gossip circle. Say an office worker decides they are not going to participate in the daily gossip sessions. As a result, they get isolated. They have a choice. They could just laugh along tomorrow and instantly be welcomed back.
But the Stoic choice, drawing from Marcus Aurelius, is that it is infinitely better to be true to yourself than to be loved for something you are not.
The sources mention a similar scenario with bullying in a school setting. A student refuses to mock a target, and suddenly they lose all their friends.
And this is where we have to be brutally honest, and the expert commentary in the sources does not shy away from this. There is a price to this philosophy.
Right. The Stoics are not offering a magic wand that makes you popular and authentic at the same time.
Integrity has a cost, and the cost is often loneliness. It means fewer connections. It might even mean a loss of opportunity if you are not playing the corporate politics.
So why do it? Why pay that price?
Because of the gain. The gain is that there is no internal conflict. You can actually look yourself in the mirror. You keep your core intact.
To make this actionable, the outline gives us 3 layers of Stoic action for anyone currently going through this.
Layer 1 is crucial. It is the self-check.
Am I actually the problem?
Exactly. You have to ask, am I isolated because I am holding a noble boundary, or am I isolated because I'm being arrogant and rigid?
Right. If you are just being a jerk, you need to adjust. That is not betraying your core, that is just basic self-awareness.
But assuming you pass that check and you are acting with integrity, you move to layer 2.
Which is accepting the uncontrollables.
If you know you are right, then how the group reacts to you is entirely outside your control. You cannot force them to understand or accept you.
And finally, layer 3.
Build new circles. Stoicism is not about suffering in silence forever. It empowers you to leave environments that require you to betray yourself.
You find the people who value the same things you do.
Exactly.
As we wrap up this deep dive, the source material makes a really powerful pivot. It moves from giving advice to issuing a challenge to the reader.
It reframes the whole experience.
It states that isolation is not a failure. It is a test.
Not a test of strength, but a test of honesty.
I love that. To close this out, we want to leave you with 3 final provocative questions drawn from our reading today. Things to mull over on your own. First, are you adjusting yourself to actually grow and mature? Or are you just adjusting yourself to be liked?
That is the line between evolution and erosion.
Second, if you have to choose between being accepted by everyone in the room and being respected by yourself, which do you actually choose?
Oh, and it is easy to answer that quickly, but in the moment, the pull of the crowd is incredibly strong.
And the final question, if tomorrow you lost the group but you kept your internal consistency, is that actually a loss?
That is something to really sit with.
The overriding image the sources leave us with is the mirror. If, in order to belong to a group, you have to give up a core principle, will you still recognize the person looking back at you in the mirror?
Isolation can absolutely make you feel small, but if you face it honestly, it brings absolute clarity.
We hope this deep dive gave you something valuable to reflect on. Take a moment to sit with that silence today.
Thanks for joining us.